Good morning friends. In this video I will show you the exact plant's sex part. The plants may have also both the sexes. If it's maybe male, it may be a female. We know that if the part is style, then it may be a male, and if the part may be a consist of stigma, style, ovary, then it may be a female part. So in our lower classes we see in our books that the female part should be like that. Means that we theoretically see the male and the female part of a plant. In this video I will show you how practically I will show you how exactly the male and the female part of a plants look like, and the what kind of arrangement it should be. We know that in plants the male and the female parts, the arrangement of the male and the female parts may be different. In some plants the ovary locations may be other, the female parts may be other, the male parts may be others. So in their locations they may be also a difference and their so the plants can be categorized on the basis of their locations of male and the female part, on the basis of their sepal, on the basis of their petals, on the number of the sepals, number of petals, numbers of ovary, numbers of stigma. Means that the plant's kingdom can be classified on the basis of their parts of male and female. We know that in plants kingdom there may be different parts of the plants. So I will show you in the lower plants the male and the female parts cannot be distinguished. So if you classify the plants into, we know that there are 5 kingdoms, and one kingdom is kingdom plantae, and in kingdom plantae there also may be different classes. So on the basis of, and if you go to the higher plants, then the male and the female parts may be different. Male and the female parts may be different. So I will show you in this video how exactly the flowering plants, how the exact arrangement of the male and the female part. We know that in every plants the arrangement may be different. So in some plants, as we have already mentioned, in some plants on the basis of their, so these stuffs, these classification, these points you should be remembered, you should be kept in mind if you want to study any flowering plants. So in this video I will show you the bisexual plants. Bisexual means in which both the male and the female parts are in the same plant. So this is a local plant in which I will show you this is the exact location of a ovary, how it's gonna be arranged inside the sepal petals. We know that the lower part, this means that this part, we know that this is the sepal and this is the petals. If we want to see inside this, then this is the ovary, and this is the ovary, and the site of this ovary, this is the anther. This anther, it should be functional. So when it's not be functionals before pollinations, and after the pollinations, when the pollen grains are fall onto the upper part of the pollen grain fall on the stigma, then it gonna be fertiles and the flower blooms. So this is the exact locations of ovary, how it's look like, it's gonna be like. This is the exact locations how the ovary are to be arranged inside the sepals and petals, inside the sepals and the petals. So this is the flowers after pollination, after fertilizations. Now I will show you the budding part, how the buds of these plants look like. This is the budding part and it not be fertilized. We know that for pollinations they needs vectors. So this is the bud. Now I will show you the inside part of this bud, how the before pollinations, how this can be happen. We also know that the petals, sepals and petals are enclosed. This is also a kind of the pollinations. So this is also part of the pollinations. Why the sepals and petals are closed? As we have seen in many flowering plants that the sepals and petals are opening before pollinations and after the pollination. So in this respective plants, the sepals and petals are enclosed. This is enclosed because to protect the this is why the sepals and the petals are enclosed, because it's we can say that it's a kind of protect itself from the impurities. In this cases we say that the pollen grains of the other plants. So we know that the pollen grains are can't be moved from one place to another place, so they need vectors. So the insects and the insects, so in this case the insects are the vectors. So if the insects are come in contact with the anther of the male part, then the pollen grains which is to be present on the anther part, then these pollen grains are touched their body. So the pollen grains are attached to the insect's body. Now the insects can go to the other plants for because in these plants they also have the some kinds of some kinds of juicy like that. So in these plants I will show you the juicy. So in this pictures you see the juicy parts. You know that this is the juicy part. This is the juicy part. This is the juicy part. So this juice can lure the insects. So the insects can move from one plant to another to collect its juice from these plants. This is very sweetened. Sometimes it could be better or any other things. So the insects have dozens. So the insects can move from one plant to another plant just in search of this. Because they need food, and this is the food for that insects. So this is very sweetener. We know that if any kind of these seeds are fallen in any parts on the floor, then we know that first the insects comes on that sweets. So that's why the insects are fond of very sweet. That's why the plants can secrete these juicy parts. This is the juicy parts, so that the plants can come for these, and these pollen grains are attached to their body and they move from one plant to another, so that the pollen grains can be pollinated from one plant to another plant. So this is the fact where the plants secrete juice on their sepals. So this is the reasons where the plants secrete these juices. Now I will show you how these anther and the stigma styles are arranged before pollinations or before fertilizations. I will show you the shape structures of the bud. So this is the bud, and I will open it and we will see how the anther and the stigma looks like. Now I will open these sepals and the petals. Now inside this bud, how the arrangements is to be arranged: the stigma, female part, and the male part. You know that the outermost layer. This is the outermost layer. This is the anther. So if the anther secrete pollen grains, then then these plants don't need any kind of vector, because they are closed inside the sepals and the petals. As I will mention you how, why is the reasons behind these, why the sepals and petals enclosed the male and the female part. I will also mention you why the reason is behind these. So this is the arrangements before pollinations, and after the pollen grains are pollinated and after the fertilization takes place, then the sepals and the petals are opens, and the plants should be look like this, and the plant should be like this. So we know that before pollinations, before fertilizations, the anthers are alive, they are functioning, but before pollinations, after fertilizations, the anther parts are to be degenerated, means they finish because they have done their work. So this is the anther after fertilizations, and this is the anther before fertilization. So you can see the difference between these plants. So how these bisexual plants can be we can practically show you how these plants can be look like before fertilizations and after the fertilizations. Thank you so much.